In some mansion, a fierce woman raised her whip, cracked it, and the girl was knocked to the ground in pain. The woman holding the whip gleefully said, "She must be married off. I'm just worried my sister doesn't know the rules of the Chinwang mansion. As an elder sister, of course, I have to teach her a bit." Saying that, she turned around smugly and said, "Let's go." At that moment, a servant ran over to help the fallen girl up. "Miss, are you okay?" The rain had stopped, and someone handed a cup of water, saying, "Drink some water." Another person behind also spoke up. "You struck so hard, big sister really is." The girl immediately took the cup of water, thanking her. The other person then smiled and said, "What, thank you, we are all secondary daughters, of course we need to help each other." Then she advised the girl, "Big sister, when you marry over there, don't forget us. Remember to come home often." The girl smiled happily. In agreement. By nightfall, the dark red feathers fluttered, accompanied by the sound of someone coughing continuously. Seeing a blood-red spot on the white cloth, the girl couldn't believe. She exclaimed, "What's going on?" She clutched her stomach and voiced her thoughts. "This is poison." It was what they had just talked about, and she thought about the two people she met that morning. "I have always known that I am the uncherished secondary daughter in the Chancellor's mansion, but I still try to keep living." At this moment, a maid rushed in, shouting, "Miss!" But she had already collapsed, yet deep down she kept voicing her thoughts. People often say, above the head 3 inches have the divine. Clearly marrying into this family would not require suffering anymore. The maid over here cried out, "Miss, please wake up." Others stood outside, watching a woman pinching her nose, said, "What a disaster while the person is not yet dead. Let's carry her to the sedan and take her out from now on. She has nothing to do with us." Her body lay motionless, silently thinking, "But marrying a dead man is not enough. In the end, I might even have to die. If the divine does exist, may those who have insulted me pay the price." On the other side, a girl in a white blouse, somewhat resembling the unfortunate girl, cheerfully exclaimed, "It's a success. The antidote has finally been researched. Not in vain have I worked overtime for 3 months. Boo-hoo." The girl held her head in dizziness, propping her hands on the table. She thought, "My head hurts so much I only stayed up a few nights to do it. I'm getting dizzy. I need to hurry before completely losing consciousness." In her ears, she could still hear the crackling sound of electricity. Opening her eyes again, she found herself in the body of that unfortunate girl. As she sat up, she said, "I remember I just broke the test tube and the anesthetic gas escaped. Where is this?" The memories in her mind then flashed fragments of disjointed memories. Reading information from the fragments of memory, she concluded, "After I died, I was transported to another world, and this body is that of Liễu Ngưng Ca, the bullied secondary daughter of the Chancellor's mansion. Some time ago, the beloved son of the Emperor, the Chinwang, fell seriously ill. The Chancellor, to flatter the Emperor, prepared her to go to the Chinwang mansion for a celebratory marriage, but unexpectedly on the day of the grand wedding, she was poisoned by her sisters, while I am now on the bridal sedan chair heading to the Chinwang mansion." The 2 servants outside were carrying the sedan chair and discussing, "The bride has been taken into the sedan chair already. The person hasn't finished speaking yet, and the one beside has already interrupted. Why care about her? Everyone in the capital knows this princess is just for show life, or death is not important." The girl overheard the 2 servants talking and sighed, truly pitiful, but now this pity has turned into her own. Suddenly, she clutched her stomach, thinking, "It hurts too much." Just as she thought that, she realized she had something in her hand. Looking at the item in her hand, she thought, "Wait, the size and serial number match the items from my laboratory." She couldn't believe it, picked up the item in her hand and said, "I can't believe the medicine made it to this place." It was unbelievable, but she still put the medicine in her mouth and swallowed it. After taking the medicine, she whispered to herself, "Liễu Ngưng Ca, I don't know why I have become you. I understand your wishes. I must make those people pay. I will temporarily live for you so that I won't be bullied anymore." When the wedding sedan arrived at the Chinwang mansion, it stopped. The maid immediately helped her down from the sedan and asked. She replied, "Don't worry, I'm very well." The 2 entered the Chinwang mansion, which was quiet inside. The maid immediately said, "How strange, clearly the young lady and the prince are getting married, yet there isn't a single guest." She said nothing, only thought, "Isn't it just a marriage of convenience? No one is paying attention to this young lady as she walks." The maid beside her suddenly exclaimed, "What? How can this be?" She turned to ask, "What's wrong?" The maid exclaimed, "They used a rooster to perform the wedding ceremony with the young lady." The people around couldn't help but gossip. Goodness, performing the ceremony with a rooster, how pitiful. Zhao Mama looked at Liu Ningxia and said with a bit of regret, "It will be even worse later. The prince won't survive the night. Minghai, she might end up as a widow living a lifetime." Liu Ningxia thought, although it is said to be a marriage of convenience, is the prince really in such a bad condition? Zhao Mama saw her expression and said, "Miss, if you are unwilling, there is no need to perform the ceremony. Keep her." Liu Ningxia obediently said, "No need, I will perform the ceremony." The ceremony went on as planned. First bow to heaven and earth. If it weren't for her birth chart being beneficial to the prince, how could she be worthy of the prince? When they reached the room of Tan Yuhan, she instructed her, "Tonight is the bride's night with the prince. Please, bride, attend to him before dawn. Do not go outside, do you understand?" Liu Ningka softly replied, "I understand." Qixia worriedly called out to her, "Miss." Liu Ningka replied, "There's no need to be afraid. If you are scared, just stay outside." She gently stepped into the room. The strong smell of medicine made Liu Ningka uncomfortable. She covered her nose and said, "The medicine smells too strong." Finally, she saw the weak and unconscious prince lying on the bed. Seeing his frail yet handsome appearance, she wondered, "Is this the Qinwang?" This is indeed the Qinwang, while the handsome prince in the movies is a deception. But looking at this handsome guy is very good-looking. Liu Ngensa gently placed her hand on his neck to check his pulse. His pale skin had a slight red mark. This symptom seems more like poisoning than a serious illness. She breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that she could still save him. At least now I don't have to become a widow. Then she called out to the outside, "Please prepare some hot water and get 2 more female red shells." Grandma Trio was angry at her orders, thinking that this was the prince's mansion. Did she think she was the mistress? She replied, "Miss, you only need to serve the prince. Why do you need those things?" Liu Ngenka stepped out of the room, shyly said, "It was the prince who told me the prince wants to drink wine for the wedding ceremony, and the hot water is to be used after the bridal chamber." She said solemnly, "So if the prince can persevere tonight, maybe I can leave behind the prince's legacy." These words left Grandma and Hong Wan stunned. She thought that moving out of the prince's mansion was a good idea. Grandma had to bring her needed items up and reported, "Madam, everything you need is here." Liu Ngenka replied, "Okay." She entered the room and approached Tan Wuhan. He warily pushed her away and said, "Don't touch me." Liu Ngenka calmly said, "Prince, you are about to meet the king of hell. Why resist like this?" She added, "I have already made vows with your rooster becoming your wife. But part of your body can't be touched." Tan Wuhan weakly said in anger, "Ridiculous, today's events are being belittled by a woman." Liu Ngenka instructed him, "Right, vomit out the poison, I will start treating you." This statement surprised Tan Wuhan greatly. Liu Ngenka gently pricked him with a needle and curiously asked, "Weren't you very resistant to me just now? Why are you cooperating now?" Tan Wuhan sat up and looked at her, answering, "If you understand medicine, then it's fine to try." Liu Ngenka continued to say, "Prince, at this moment, no one will harm you because you will soon die young." She meticulously observed the needle she had just inserted into the prince. When pulling the needle out, it was stained black. She thought to herself that the blood was all black. The needle was indeed not a disease, but poison. Taking blood would only alleviate the condition. It's best to use democarpone. Tan Wuhan saw her change in complexion and coldly asked, "What's wrong?" Liu Ngenka replied, "Don't worry, I have to think a bit." She pondered, "Previously, I could get the medicine from the laboratory. Once, maybe I can get it a second time." Liu Ngenka clasped her hands and continuously prayed for the prescription she wanted, democarpus. Just then, a ping sound rang out. A syringe appeared from the central node. Liu Ngenka reached out her hand, preparing to catch it. She joyfully recognized the faint smell of garlic and onion. It really is democarpone. Indeed, can hamburger, fried chicken, potatoes, and Coca-Cola be brought here? Seeing Liễu Ngưng Ca's excited actions, he silently judged, "Is this woman crazy?" When she listed a series of food but nothing happened, she disappointingly thought, "It seems I can only get things that are in my laboratory." Looking at the syringe poking into his arm, Tan Vu Han curiously asked, "What is this?" Liễu Ngưng Ca, the mysterious deity, replied, "The secret ancestral method of the divine pill." After injecting the prince, she quietly thought, "Go back to the laboratory." Finally, the syringe in her hand gradually disappeared. She excitedly thought, "How interesting there are so many medicines in the laboratory. I could be a divine doctor in this world." After cleaning up the medical tools, Liễu Ngưng Ca said to Tan Vu Han, "Prince, take off your clothes." The prince was surprised and asked back, "Are you preparing for a bath?" "What are you saying?" She urged him without any embarrassment. "Hurry up, the water is about to cool down, it won't be good anymore." Liễu Ngưng Ca even encouraged him. "This is for your own good, don't be shy, I won't eat you." Tan Vu Han could only feel helpless and bored witnessing the boldness of his newlywed bride, secretly thinking, "Who did I marry after all?" Liễu Ngưng Ca slowly helped him into the bathtub, continually reminding Tan Vu Han, "Be careful, don't fall." Once the prince was in the bathtub, she began to assess him, secretly guessing that this prince must be over 5 years muscular. It's really surprising to be sick, but still in such good shape. When going outside, Liễu Ngưng Ca saw someone and hurriedly asked a younger sister, "Please bring some hot water over here." But the woman was Hong Oan, who irritably said, "Didn't I just bring some earlier? Why do you want more?" Liễu Ngưng Ca innocently replied, "Of course, what's wrong with having more after bathing?" Not believing in the prince's strength, Hong Oan felt both shy and angry upon hearing her say that, scolding her, "Fox girl." The guards were still patrolling the prince's mansion strictly. After asking the woman, Liễu Ngưng Ca returned to the room, collapsed next to the bathtub, and sighed. "I have to change the water 7 times. Even if I'm almost done, the weak body of the original host can't handle it." Tan Vu Han secretly glanced at her inwardly, doubting the rumors about her weak constitution. The mansion is sending 2 young ladies to celebrate in this prince's bedroom with ginseng mushrooms and reishi. It looks like they are sleeping quite well, too. Seeing her tiredly dozing off, he suddenly reached out to snatch the headscarf off Liễu Ngưng Ca. The scarf thrown aside by Tan Vu Han allowed him to observe her more clearly. Liễu Ngưng Ca was startled awake by Tan Vu Han's action. In front of her was the sight of the prince uncomfortably holding his neck. Seeing this, she anxiously asked, "Prince, what's wrong? Don't die." The next day, Tan Vu Han felt better. He immediately asked her about the previous night. "You didn't see, should I explain a bit?" Liễu Ngưng Ca angrily looked at him and said, "Perhaps you should thank me first, after all I saved your life." In Tan Vu Han's heart, he couldn't help but hope that if she really saved him from the gates of hell, she might have the ability to heal his legs. He also knew better than to respond. "Just now was abrupt of me. I want to reward you. Just say what you want." Liễu Ngưng Ca slowly stood up, observing him while secretly thinking, "This prince is smarter than I thought, and his attitude has improved. Knowing that we can cure his leg, I will probe my purpose. I want to live well here. This prince is just the support I need." She began to sincerely say, "I want the prince to live well. The longer the prince lives, the more I have to rely on him, and the more torment I endure each day. Now I want to find the place I slept." After hearing her, Tan Vu Han didn't know whether to believe that she only wanted to live well. He firmly said, "This prince will." Just as Liễu Ngưng Ca stepped outside, she was blocked by a group of people. Trio Mama led the group, angrily questioning her, "What are you doing out here? If you go out, who will serve the prince?" But Liễu Ngưng Ca was not afraid and replied immediately, "This princess only takes care of serving at night." Trio Mama continued to nag about the prince's health. "Did you not spend the night with him last night? You dare to be mischievous in the prince's residence without knowing, so you should be taken back." Before she could finish speaking, Liễu Ngưng Ca took out a handkerchief. She thought to herself, "Good thing I wiped the prince's mouth last night." She replied loudly, "The handkerchief is here, or you can personally ask the prince. After all, he is awake now." The woman was both moved and surprised, asking back, "What did you say? The prince is awake." Last night he slept and got up early at midnight. Could it be that the wedding night really had an effect? From inside the room came Tanvu Han's voice, and Trio Mama changed her clothes. She happily ordered the servants to hurry and invite the imperial doctor, saying that the prince could stand up now. Hongwan felt envious as the situation improved, thinking that this woman was truly lucky. Even if the prince stayed up last night, he might not get through tonight without being annoyed by her. Liễu Ngưng Ca coldly reminded, "This gaze of yours, this princess does not like." After saying this, she ordered her maid, "Let's go." But before she could leave Trio, Mama stopped her. "Princess, please stop." With a sleep-deprived face, she tiredly asked, "Trio, Mama, is there something else?" She thought to herself, "I haven't slept all night. I want to go back and catch up on sleep." Trio Mama's attitude towards Liễu Ngưng Ca had become more respectful. She bowed and said to her, "The prince told this old servant that the princess worked hard all night. The imperial doctor from the palace is coming soon, so please wait a moment." Liễu Ngưng Ca asked in confusion, "What does the imperial doctor coming to check on the prince have to do with me?" She hesitated and replied, "Last night the princess and the prince did not allow the imperial doctor to check if the body was suitable for having children." Liễu Ngưng Ca could only agree. "Oh, okay." She sighed in her heart. Not letting people sleep life in this prince's residence is hard. Liễu Ngưng Ca reported to the mama, "I will go change my clothes and return to the prince's room." Tanvu Han was leisurely drinking tea. Liễu Ngưng Ca returned after changing clothes. Her face was full of sleepiness, and she felt indescribably distressed. After a busy night feeling hungry, she suggested to him, "Prince, your illness has been initially cured. Your body needs nourishment, so you should eat more." Tanvu Han immediately realized what she was implying. He asked directly, "Are you hungry?" Liễu Ngưng Ca showed concern for him and replied, "Whether I am hungry or not is a minor issue. The main thing is that the prince has been bedridden for so long, eating bland food every day. Now that your health has improved, you must definitely nourish yourself." Tanvu Han did not want to expose her, so he went along with her idea and ordered, "Prepare the dishes that the princess likes to eat." Liễu Ngưng Ca smiled brightly at the thought of eating. "Great. She quickly listed a series of greasy dishes, leaving Trio Mama and the prince stunned. Then there are pig trotter braised pork, longjing shrimp shark fin almond tofu, and stir-fried fresh fish. Hong Oan interjected, "The prince doesn't like greasy food. He has just recovered from illness." "Is the princess calling for the prince or for herself?" Liễu Ngưng Ca responded reasonably, "The prince must be nourished. Too bland of a diet is not good. Besides, you and I are husband and wife. Is there anyone who cares for the prince's health more than I do?" I angrily scolded her. "Clearly you want to eat, but use the prince's health as an excuse." Liễu Ngưng Ca was not weak either. She quickly replied, "The prince personally said to make dishes I like to eat. And can I harm my own husband?" Seeing her constantly teasing Hongwan and Tanvu Han originally thought this woman was just bold. Unexpectedly, her skin is not thin. He was troubled, bored, and helplessly listened to the two of them argue. Hongwan, unable to control her anger, pointed at her and said, "You're just a girl who came to the wedding. Do you really think you are the princess?" Liễu Ngưng Ca replied nonchalantly, "I'm not the princess, could it be you?" "Girl, you don't want to see the prince completely submit to and pamper me, do you?" Upon hearing this, Tanvu Han thought, "This prince completely submits to her?" At this time in another mansion, a voice filled with anger came from inside. "What? The prince hasn't died yet at this time." The person seemed to not accept the truth, insisting on seeing him dead to be satisfied. "I don't believe it can't be. The reflected light must be a reflection of light. Prepare the horses quickly. Prepare the horses." After a long and exhausting argument, the delicacies were finally served. Liễu Ngưng Ca ate like a hungry tiger, continuously praising, "So delicious, so delicious." Tanvu Han saw her not at all ladylike appearance and couldn't help but exclaim, "You eat like a hungry tiger." These words made Liễu Ngưng Ca feel very insulted. Just at that moment, the imperial physician hurriedly ran over to report, "Your Highness, let me examine you quickly." He found it hard to believe that the prince looked better, thinking, how could this be? Clearly, he had only seen a faint trace of life yesterday, yet today he could sit up and eat. Liễu Ngưng Ca understood the imperial physician's attitude immediately and whispered to her newlywed husband, look, is this a normal person's reaction? He was puzzled as to why the person was still alive. Tan Vu Han also couldn't believe it and replied, this prince is also puzzled, why am I still alive? He looked at her, puffing her cheeks while eating beside him, curiously thinking, clearly she is an unloved concubine. Could it really be that she died and came back to life? Liễu Ngưng Ca innocently replied, maybe it's because the 8 good fortunes are blessings that have successfully brought joy to the prince. Not receiving the appropriate answer he wanted to hear, Tan Vu Han fell into deep thought. Liễu Ngưng Ca kindly picked up a piece of food for him and said, your Highness, eat up. Tan Vu Han hadn't finished his sentence. This prince is not... When the imperial physician hurriedly stopped her from serving him, stop. The prince's body showed some color change. He shouldn't eat greasy food. He rushed to Liễu Ngưng Ca's side, then tightly grasped her hand to prevent her from serving food to the prince anymore. After that, the chief physician loudly ordered Mama Trio, what are you dawdling for? Hurry and take these dishes down. But Liễu Ngưng Ca slammed the chopsticks on the table, her voice rising with spirit. Who dares to take them away? Ugh. Who says that sick people can't eat oily food? The Emperor's Inner Classic, which manuscript knows that the sick can only eat plain porridge. The chief physician straightforwardly responded from ancient times to now the sick can only eat light dishes. Strong smells are a great taboo. That woman also chimed in. Your Highness, this is On Thai Y, who has been in service for 35 years at the Imperial Medical Institute, practicing medicine for 50 years, and is the head of the Imperial Medical Institute. How can you let every plate of meat be taken away? Ugh. She thought sadly, no, my meat, it was almost in my mouth and now it's slipping away. She firmly defended her viewpoint. If we're talking about strong smells, there are over 200 kinds of herbs with pungent odors in medicine. If the greasy food is accompanied by a little son tra and hatu o, it's fine. How can we prohibit everyone from eating sirate and zir? Moreover, the prince has been seriously ill for 3 months, eating only plain porridge every day, which weakens the body. If now is a good time, a little meat supplementation should be eaten. With her argument so powerful, Tan Vu Han had once thought that this prince thought she was greedy, but unexpectedly she was genuinely concerned for his health. On Thai Y was so embarrassed by her words that he became angry, scolding her for being foolish. A person who knows medicine but is still young in practice was scolded by him. Liễu Ngưng Ca silently thought that this On Thai Y really resembled a stubborn, old-fashioned physician. She slowly sat down on her chair, trying to hold back her anger. Tan Vu Han was even more surprised by her not expecting the 2 young ladies of the general's residence to be like this truly interesting. He immediately gave her a plate of pastries and said, all right, if you're still hungry, have a little snack. Liễu Ngưng Ca accepted it right away, still being considerate, while the prince ordered On Thai Y to examine him. He complied and responded affirmatively. After a while of examination, he reported that the prince's leg was not healing. Due to the illness within his body, the blood was not circulating, and all he needed was proper rest and to use medicinal wine for massage daily to recover. Hearing this, Liễu Ngưng Ca couldn't help but let out a huff. The other 2 looked at her in confusion, and she quickly explained, it's nothing, just found it strange that the head of the Imperial Medical Institute sits like this. Anyone could do it. In her heart, she couldn't help but think that it was ridiculous for someone with such poor medical skills to hold a high position. It was truly funny. On Thai Y felt insulted and angrily asked, do you dare to question me? Liễu Ngưng Ca calmly said, the prince surviving last night is a matter of great fortune, and it cannot be ruined in your hands. He showed signs of being offended, saying, you look down on me. The prince forgives me for being helpless, since this woman is causing chaos that cannot be controlled. After that, he ordered his subordinates to pack up and leave. His attitude made Tan Vu Han begin to feel uncomfortable. Hong Wan appeared worried, stepping in to stop the doctor from leaving, and said, this woman is completely wrong, On Thai Y. If you do not treat the prince's illness, the emperor will blame you, and you cannot bear that. But he remained aloof, ignoring her constant pleas. Today, I will clearly report the nature of the prince's illness. It will not endanger his life. Trio Mama also reminded Liễu Ngưng Ca to hurry up and leave. Apologizing to Ontai Wei, Liễu Ngưng Ca finally spoke up. Between a doctor and a patient, health is related to life. Not to mention the prince's inability to move. Do you think it's due to illness or paralysis? She coldly reminded him. Ontai Wei, please answer my question. He felt a little uneasy, replying, Of course it is the prince's illness. Because he is ill, it has not healed for a long time. If it were poison, I would have already checked the prince's food and there would be no poison. Liễu Ngưng Ca replied calmly. You say it's an illness. I say the prince has been poisoned. Tan Vu Han remained silent upon hearing her words. He waited for her to continue confronting Ontai Wai. Hong Wan angrily accused her, Mama, this woman speaks nonsense. She surely has ulterior motives. Mama also concernedly reminded her to quickly drive her away. Liễu Ngưng Ca replied, This is the Tan Prince's residence. You should hold back a bit. Ontai Wai continued, It's funny. I am the head of the Imperial Medical Institute, and you are just a little girl who has never studied medicine. How dare you doubt me? Liễu Ngưng Ca firmly replied, I think you are afraid of losing the reputation of the Imperial Medical Institute, so you don't dare to acknowledge the truth. He was completely provoked by her losing his temper and scolding her, impudent, hateful, unaware of the bigger picture. If you dare compete with me, I will show you what true medical skills are. Liễu Ngưng Ca coldly asked. What exam? Ontai Wai pointed towards Tan Vu Han and said, Let's see who can treat the prince's foot first. Each of us will take one foot. She replied comfortably, Okay. The woman became angry and said, That's ridiculous. How can you take the prince? But before she could finish, the prince interrupted her. I also want to see if she has this ability. Liễu Ngưng Ca confidently said, Ontai Wai, if I lose, I will cut my hair and go to the mountains to become a nun. If you lose, Ontai Wai replied, Then I will give up the position of head of the Imperial Medical Institute to you. He began his method. I will write a prescription instructing you to prepare the medicine and then find medicinal wine to soak the prince's feet. Tan Vu Han casually said, I, the prince, will witness this, as one of his feet was already soaking in the basin of water. Ontai Wai was holding a towel, preparing to begin the treatment while everyone around was eagerly waiting. Until the night came, the entire royal residence was lit up. Ontai Wai, tired, wiped his forehead, looking very satisfied. Tan Vu Han felt that his foot seemed to have some sensation now. His calves slightly moved, causing ripples in the water. This success deeply moved Trio Mama. Seeing the astonished face of Liễu Ngưng Ca, Ontai Wai arrogantly said, You don't know your place. If you admit your mistake, now I won't hold it against you. You don't even need to go to the mountains to become a nun, just face the wall and repent. But Liễu Ngưng Ca regained her confidence. She ordered the maid Chi-ha to pull the screen. Chi-ha immediately responded, Yes. She curiously observed Tan Vu Han's foot, thinking that the prince's foot could move now. A syringe gradually appeared in her hand. She knew the effect of this medicine was only enough to treat one foot. Slowly, she injected the syringe into the prince's other foot. Seeing this novelty, Tan Vu Han was very curious, wondering what it actually was. On his left foot, the cool pain also disappeared. After finishing the injection, Liễu Ngưng Ca happily said, All right. She stepped outside and said, The prince's foot can move now. Ontai Wai hadn't even finished a cup of tea yet. She had already completed the treatment. He couldn't believe it, spitting out a mouthful of tea and exclaimed, You're lying. I spent so much time and you just... But when he saw Tan Vu Han come out without any difficulty, he seemed stunned. Even Tan Vu Han himself might not believe this fact. His expression was full of shock. Chi-ha joyfully congratulated. Our young lady has won. Our young lady has won. Ontai Wai had no choice but to accept his fate and said, I have lost. Tomorrow I will resign and go back to my hometown. Liễu Ngưng Ca had given him a way down. She replied, There's no need to resign and go back home, Ontai Wai. Give me the token of the Imperial Medical Institute so that I can freely enter and exit the Imperial Medical Institute in the future. Now, Ontai Wai, Luyan Tiek handed over his token. Liễu Ngưng Ca quickly took it and thanked On Jai-fu. Granny Trio happily reported to him, Your Highness, I led everyone to see off Dr. On. In her heart, she thought, Liễu Ngưng Ca is truly a lucky star. At this moment, feeling a bit hungry, she suggested to someone to cook the meat that had just been taken down. Just then, Tan Vu Han approached and patted her shoulder coldly, asking, "So you could have cured this prince's leg earlier, but you let Dr. Un treat me from a healthy pig to a crippled one." Liễu Ngưng Ca said softly to him, "Don't drag this out unnecessarily." The prince only responded with a grunt. Tan Vu Han continued to ask her, "Cure this prince's leg, what do you want?" "The prince has already asked this question once today, and I have answered it once." Liễu Ngưng Ca replied, "No one in this world wishes for your highness to be healthy and live long more than I do." Tan Vu Han understood her meaning. Right, only if I live can this woman become the princess of the Tan Prince's mansion. If I don't return to the Chancellor's mansion, I will be a widow who harms her husband. Liễu Ngưng Ca carefully reminded him, "Your highness's health has just improved. You are still weak. To get better, you can't rush. Wait until you are well, then I will try to treat you." Hearing her, Tan Vu Han doubted, thinking, "Try to treat me." Seeing that she didn't clarify and was leaving, he quickly asked, "Stop, where are you going?" "I'm looking for a place to rest." Granny Triu peeked in and said, "Thinking that last night the princess was tired, resting a bit earlier is good." But the prince has ordered that from today she and this prince will eat together and sleep together." Granny Ma was very surprised by his words. She had never seen the prince so enthusiastic. Seeing that his wife had no expression of joy, he asked again, "Why don't you want to?" In her heart, she secretly thought, "What does Tan Vu Han want to do?" But outwardly, she replied, "Of course not, one cannot be spoiled by being favored. It's just that I can't sleep properly, truly troubling your highness." But Tan Vu Han did not give her a chance to refuse. He said, "It's okay, this prince sleeps very soundly." Not hearing, Liễu Ngưng Ca made up another excuse. "Before sleeping, I have to read and practice writing. It's very good." The woman that attitude made Tan Vu Han almost unable to yield anymore. He thought, "Woman, you are playing with fire." He said again, "It's okay, this prince likes liveliness." Liễu Ngưng Ca felt helpless, speechless, with no more excuses to make up. Meanwhile, Granny Triu was silently evaluating her. This favored second daughter truly was a treasure cherished by the prince. Who knows, in a year the prince's mansion might have someone. Hurry and prepare new blankets, for the Princess. Tan Vu Han ordered her to quickly prepare new blankets for the princess. Liễu Ngưng Ca had to admit defeat in this battle. Chi Ha saw the servants carrying new blankets into the prince's room and emotionally said, "Miss, it's like suffering has turned to happiness, good days are coming." After arranging everything for his princess, Tan Vu Han quietly sat aside reading. Liễu Ngưng Ca thought that he had other motives. "It was that this man did not trust me, afraid that I would wander around the courtyard, so he locked me by his side." Avoiding the melon skin but meeting the coconut shell, both the Chancellor's mansion and the Tan Prince's mansion are not good places. Especially this man cannot be underestimated. Tan Vu Han saw her continuously sighing with a frown on her face and suddenly asked, "What are you thinking about?" She blankly replied, "I'm hungry." This surprised him greatly. "It's been only 2 hours since lunch and I'm already hungry again." Chi Ha quickly explained on behalf of her young lady. "No, the young lady is hungry. She's worried that the prince didn't eat enough at noon, and her body is too weak to endure." Liễu Ngưng Ca also nodded vigorously. "Ah, yes, that's the idea." Tan Vu Han then asked, "May I ask what the princess would like to eat tonight?" Hong Wan suddenly frowned and looked at her. Liễu Ngưng Ca listed a bunch of dishes. "Tonight we will have braised ribs, Westlake tomatoes, crystal dumplings, and salt-roasted duck." But the prince only replied, "Eat less at night." Her eyes lit up again. It's not too much to greedily ask for a few more dishes, then add a vegetarian dish and the best sea ginseng for the prince. The dishes were being served, and Liễu Ngưng Ca was joyfully excited again as the table was filled with delicious food. She ate so happily that she forgot everything around her. So delicious. Tan Vu Han looked at her eating so enjoyably and doubted whether it was really that good. Liễu Ngưng Ca looked at him, thought for a moment, and finally decided to serve him food. "Prince, you also eat, you need to nourish yourself." The prince was silent for a moment when he saw her serving him. He actually agreed to eat. Liễu Ngưng Ca happily said, You should eat too. It's too embarrassing for me to eat alone. Mama Trio saw this and further confirmed that Liễu Ngưng Ca was indeed a lucky star. Seeing Liễu Ngưng Ca puffing her cheeks while eating, Tan Vu Han curiously asked, "Don't they allow you to eat at the minister's residence?" Chi-ha shook her head and replied, "No, it's just that the young lady can eat a little since she was small." Liễu Ngưng Ca had finished eating. She wiped her mouth and said to the prince, "The minister is known for being upright and pure. There is usually no meat in the residence, so I have to eat a bit more. Such a dignified Tanwang residence can't even meet my appetite." Tan Vu Han frowned upon hearing her say that, wondering if being upright and pure is really so. Last year, the court allocated 300,000 taels for disaster relief, but in the end, only 100,000 taels remained with layers of exploitation. So I'm afraid the chancellor is doing well enough. Seeing that she had finished eating, he ordered the servants to take it away. "Go," she replied. "Yes." Liễu Ngưng Ca unexpectedly asked, "Wait, the food that hasn't been eaten and the dishes that haven't been touched, just take them away." Tan Vu Han coldly replied, "You chose these." Liễu Ngưng Ca knew that although he had a point, she didn't want to lecture him. She continued, "But I chose for the prince. I sincerely want to be considerate, but it seems I've made a mistake. If the prince doesn't want to see me, I should move out of the residence." Tan Vu Han felt helpless, picked up a bowl, and said, "I'll drink." He obediently lifted 8 bowls of soup and slowly drank one sip at a time. Really, Liễu Ngưng Ca clapped her hands and said, "That's right. Lying in bed for a long time without eating savory food, the kidneys will weaken." Tan Vu Han felt very offended when she mentioned the kidneys. He set the soup bowl back down on Hong Won's tray and frowned at Liễu Ngưng Ca. When Hong Won was about to leave with the bowl, her eyes glanced toward one side. Her eyes were filled with scheming. She stumbled and accidentally knocked over the incense burner. She hurriedly bent down and said, "This servant deserves to die. This servant accidentally made the incense burner dirty." Liễu Ngưng Ca simply replied, "Don't use the incense burner again. I don't like the smell." After the maids left, Liễu Ngưng Ca stepped into the bedroom. She lifted the curtain and couldn't help but feel a bit anxious seeing Tan Vu Han had closed his eyes to rest. She stared blankly, thinking it was unreasonable. "There's only one bed. Where am I supposed to sleep?" The prince opened his eyes, glanced at her coldly, and ordered, "What are you doing? Get on the bed." Liễu Ngưng Ca carefully said, "This, my lord, you can't sleep on the bed." He then asked, "Can't sleep on the bed. Where else should I sleep?" Liễu Ngưng Ca then reasoned quite well, saying, "The poison in you is probably mercury. It will use your blood. If you sleep on the bed, you might have difficulty breathing, so I suggest you sleep on the floor." But the prince was not a 3-year-old child. He frowned and asked back, "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Who would believe such words? Liễu Ngưng Ca was soft but firm. She turned away and said, "All right then, I'll go wish you a speedy recovery." That stubborn attitude forced Tan Vu Han to concede, "Stop, lay a mat for me." "Okay, I will definitely lay a mat for you." The prince was even more certain in his heart that this woman was making things up. In the end, he still had to lie on the ground while she was happily occupying her soft bed. The flickering candlelight illuminated the room, and the quilt had a faint pear blossom scent similar to the smell on Tan Vu Han's body. Seeing her sleeping soundly, Tan Vu Han thought to himself, "Beautiful yet fragile." Liễu Ngưng Ca had a miserable childhood. He silently resolved, "I must make her live well." Looking at the person on the bed who had her back to him, he quietly called her name. "Liễu Ngưng Ca. Are you ultimately a rabbit or the wolf that the chancellor raised?" At that moment outside the door, it creaked as someone opened it. Tan Vu Han warily asked, who Chiech An entered, bowed, and said, "Your Highness, I arrived late." Tan Vu Han asked, "Chiech An, what have you found out?" Chiech An reported to him, "I went to the South Sea to seek a healer. I haven't found the legendary divine doctor. Fortunately, Your Highness has the heavenly general protecting you. Please forgive me, Your Highness. I feel lucky to have run as fast as I could. Fortunately, the auspicious event has some effect." The prince coughed a few times and then ordered to get up and go ahead, telling someone to investigate the situation of the 2 young ladies of the chancellor's residence. Chiech An reported the information he had gathered. The 2 young ladies of the chancellor's residence were not favored the most unfortunate. and their mother had passed away when they were young, enduring much harshness and indifference. Even the servants were treated better. If nothing special, they were just abandoned children. But Tan Wuhan did not trust that. If the investigation yielded nothing, it was probably hidden too well. This woman did not look cowardly at all. He then asked, "Have you ever heard that she knows medicine? Or that she had an instructor at some point?" Chiech-an replied, "I have never heard of that. I heard that her mother was a physician. Perhaps she learned some from her mother." Yes, the prince did not consider that to be true. If her mother died early, then how did she learn medicine? The image guessed, saying perhaps she was bullied in the manner leading to her illness. Tan Wuhan hesitated a bit and said, "This isn't impossible." He just waved his hand gently to call the image back. The image came closer and the prince whispered to the shadow guard. A moment later, the image responded, "I obey your command." Tan Wuhan knew that this woman was probably not simple. Suddenly, the room echoed with the voice of Liễu Ngưng Ca. "I won't marry. I won't marry." He thought to himself, how could she be unwilling? Liễu Ngưng Ca kept saying, "I won't marry." She was still mumbling, saying, "I would rather it be left," which left Tan Wuhan pondering, "Are you a discarded child or a pawn sent to test me, or—" In Liễu Ngưng Ca's dream, there must be an abundance of food. She mumbled again, "Roosters are for eating, not for marrying off. Add more goji berries, throw in some ginseng." Tan Wuhan felt helpless upon hearing this, thinking this woman really had no standards. 2 days later, Liễu Ngưng Ca was changing into another outfit. She whispered to Chi-ha, "This outfit is a bit tight." Chi-ha was still adjusting her young lady's clothes. A maid named Zhao entered, informing her that this outfit was made based on the wedding dress. "It's likely that the princess has gained weight in these 2 days." Liễu Ngưng Ca suddenly thought gaining a little weight isn't bad. These past few days, she was more moody than a pig in a pen. Zhao Mama suddenly looked at her with hopeful eyes, wondering if she had been observing her carefully. But Liễu Ngưng Ca immediately denied it, saying it couldn't be, absolutely not. Zhao Mama still tried to persuade her, what if it is? In recent days, the prince has been much healthier, and today he can even attend court. So how could it not be pregnancy? We should still find the imperial physician to check. Hearing this, Liễu Ngưng Ca broke out in a cold sweat, thinking that they had done nothing. Zhao Mama's hopeful gaze remained on her, but Liễu Ngưng Ca bluntly extinguished it. She firmly stated that there was nothing. Liễu Ngưng Ca then took a peach blossom pin and wore it. Chi-ha, seeing this, panicked and said, "Young lady, treasure this." She looked at the object in her hand, which was a bracelet. She asked suspiciously, "Treasure it?" She held the item up and asked, "What about this one? Is this also very precious?" Zhao Mama explained to her, "Of course this item is a family heirloom. There is only one in the world, a reward from the prince for quelling the Southwest Rebellion." Liễu Ngưng Ca asked in surprise, "Quelling the Southwest Rebellion. So the prince was only 16 years old then." Images of the prince in armor gradually appeared in her mind, contrasting with his current frail appearance. She thought to herself, a sickly beauty can still go to the battlefield to quell chaos. Liễu Ngưng Ca put the bracelet around her neck. Zhao Mama sadly continued, "That was also when he returned to the capital and began to weaken." She simply replied, "Is that so?" She continued, "Is there anything valuable among that pile of jewelry?" Chi-ha panicked and stopped her. "Miss, this is really not acceptable. It's too precious." Liễu Ngưng Ca replied nonchalantly, "The more precious, the better. It's exactly what's needed." As the carriage approached the Prime Minister's residence, Liễu Ngưng Ca's voice came from the carriage. "My head feels like it's going to fall off." Chi-ha also persuaded her earnestly, "Miss, you should take these things off quickly." Liễu Ngưng Ca was adorned with a pile of sparkling precious jewelry. She seemed to hang all those precious things on herself. She touched the necklace around her neck, thinking, "No wonder it's pure gold. It hurts my neck terribly." Chi-ha anxiously said, "If those young ladies see this, they will be so jealous they'll go crazy." She put the jade bracelet on Chi-ha's wrist and said, "From now on, whether in front of others or behind them, you must call me Wang Fi, so others won't hear and gossip." Chi-ha saw that precious gift and exclaimed, "Wang." Wang Fi, Liễu Ngưng Ca, then took off the hairpin from her head and said, "The maid follows me." "That's fine. Wealth and honor are indeed the way to go." She pinned that hairpin into Chiha's hair, making her even more panicked. Wang Fei is too precious. Liu Ningsa advised her, I am from the Qinwang residence, you are mine from now on. Among men, the prince is one above all, among women, I am just that. Chiha understood too. She told Liu Ningsa that the prince is one below one and above 10,000. Even the prime minister has to bow and pay respects. Liu Ningsa continued, So you must be careful. They are not like us, especially on the day we must be alone. Today we need to be clear about things. Here the carriage has arrived at the prime minister's residence, and the servant reported to Liu Ningka, Wang Fei, the door is closed. Then she lifted the curtain and ordered the servant to knock on the door. Inside, she understood that this was meant to intimidate her. Why don't you say it again? Just say, Qin Wang Fei has returned home. Calling out loudly, the servants complied and responded. A voice outside called out, Qin Wang Fei has returned home. Please send someone out to welcome her. The servants kept discussing when they saw the door still closed. What's going on with the prime minister's residence? Our girl has become a Wang Fei. Why isn't the door opening? I suspect something is wrong with this Wang Fei. What do you understand? A daughter has been married off. Shouting like that hits her father's face like this. Then the prime minister's family. Liu Ningka lifted the curtain again. Chiha understood her intention, immediately stepped up to the guards and said, Wang Fei has said please trouble the head guard to take the followers to knock on the door. If they don't open, then break it down. The head guard immediately responded. A moment later, they shouted, Wang Fei, the door is opening. Then she asked further, Very good, did my parents and sisters come out to welcome me? Chiha hesitated and replied, Wang Fei did not. Seeing this, Liu Ningxia said, it must be that the servants haven't reported it yet. If not, then, with deep sisterly affection and motherly love, how could they not come out to welcome me? Her eyes calculated slightly, and in the end, she decided to tell the servant, I will wait here. When my mother arrives to pick me up, I will go outside where a crowd has gathered to gossip from inside the general's residence. A voice full of anger called out, Liu Ningxia, what are you doing? This is the residence of the prime minister. Do you want to slap your parents in the face? She calmly said, What is my mother talking about? I am the daughter of the prime minister's residence. How can I do anything harmful to the family? It's just that the doors are tightly shut. The daughter is truly worried about what might happen. Liu Yingchen angrily said, You dare to make excuses. The daughter's dowry should go through the side door. Yet you dare to use your servant to break the property of the prime minister's residence. Haven't you been taught not to be so arrogant? After saying that, she slowly approached Liu Ningta's carriage. She was not angry at all, calmly saying, What my elder sister said, Sai. Although I am the second daughter, I have married as the main wife, moreover bearing the weight of being the princess consort. How could I go through the side door? Kuang Thuk loudly said, Liu Ningxia, even if you are now the princess consort of the Prince of Qin, you are still from the Liu family. To cause such a disturbance today is truly a misfortune for the family. She was completely unaware of the rules, ordering the servants to take her to the ancestral hall to kneel and write about the family rules. Liu Ningxia remained in the carriage, curiously asking, Is the family rule of the general's residence or the family rule of my Prince of Qin? So the status of the princess consort of Qin is equal to that of a county lord. Do you dare to have the family servants seize me? Liu Yuanchun contemptuously said, The Prince of Qin, I fear, is too lazy to care about you. Just then, the prime minister returned loudly shouting, Ridiculous. What is this chaos about? Next to him was Tan Vu Han sitting in a wheelchair. Liu Yuanchun hurriedly saluted, saying, Father, your highness. Liu Ningxia began to show her grievances to the prince. Husband, is it you who has come? Huang Thuk also began to accuse Liu Ningxia. My lord, you may not know, but Liu Ningxia has been quick to report to her mother wanting me to go through the side door. I am the second daughter, so it doesn't matter. I just truly cannot bear to let the prince suffer humiliation with me. Tan Vu Han was surprised to hear her accusations. If he hadn't heard her earlier words, he would really think that she had suffered quite a bit of injustice. Liu Yuanchun angrily said, Your Highness, of course, cannot follow what her mother said it is to tell you to go. Liu Ningxia slowly got down from the carriage and began to trap her, saying, So your intention is to have us couple separate, right? As she stepped down from the carriage, the onlookers gasped, She's out. She's out. Is she the one who went to celebrate the wedding a few days ago? Around her were discussions. That's right. Looking at the prince getting better and better, it seems that this young lady of the Liu family is indeed a blessing. That's true. Look a little more, enjoy some good fortune. Liu Ningsa then calmly said, the prince's leg is not convenient, he needs me to support him. Is my mother and elder sister not making things difficult for me, but making things difficult for the prince? Seeing her adorned in sparkling jewelry, Liu Ningxuan felt jealous, thinking, this outfit, this jewelry, not to mention I don't have any. Even my mother doesn't have many. This little wench has so much. Seeing Liễu Ngưng Ca shine with jewelry, Tan Wuhan helplessly thought, did this woman wear all her jewelry for her? The Prime Minister didn't want to lose face outside the door, hurriedly said respectfully, Your Highness, please come this way. Quang Thuc also kindly said to him, Ngưng Ca, this wedding celebration is a blessing for our Liu family. Your Highness loves Ngưng Ca so much as a mother, I am also happy. Liễu Ngưng Ca approached and affectionately said to Tan Wuhan, Your Highness, it's windy outside. Let me push you into the room first. Be careful of the strong wind. The others were taken aback. Tan Wuhan thought he misheard what strong wind. Tongue. He thought, it's only the beginning and they are arguing nonstop, so I am even more looking forward to the drama later. Liu Ngenxuan saw her pushing the cart inside and angrily said, That little wench dared to interrupt my mother. Entering the inner courtyard of the general's mansion, she softly asked him, Why are you sitting in a wheelchair and not using crutches? Is your leg uncomfortable? Seeing her close to his ear, I asked Tan Wuhan, blushing with embarrassment. He simply gave a not-so-good reason. Liu Ngưng Ca patiently replied, Your Highness, even without legs, you are still a handsome man. She pushed him along while thinking this kid is quite something. This man still has the burden of an idol. As for Tan Wuhan, he thought, let's take it as a compliment. She smiled brightly and whispered to him, Your Highness' unparalleled handsomeness, no one can compare. Leaving Liu Ngenxuan behind, feeling jealous, thinking how that sickly guy could be so handsome, and with all those precious gifts, what was that little wench relying on to have all this? Why didn't someone poison her that day? After a while, the group entered the main room and the Prime Minister ordered the servants to prepare the banquet well. Liu Ngưng Ca immediately understood, knowing that the dowry would not be mentioned, arranging the food first, fearing that Your Highness did not expect to come with me. She whispered to him, Your Highness, do you believe it this time? I told you my father is very honest, see. Even knowing we were coming, he didn't mention preparing food first. That must be wasteful. Tan Wuhan gently replied, The princess is right. On the contrary, I should see whether her relationship with the Prime Minister is truly bad, or if the Prime Minister is awkwardly smiling at Your Highness. Just then, he loudly asked, Liu Minsan, where are your sisters? Ngưng Ca, they don't understand any rules about dowries, and now they won't come out to meet being scolded by their father. She grew even angrier, her face filled with hatred as she looked at Liu Ngưng Ca. Beside her, Tan Wuhan silently thought, but if it really is as rumored, if she endures enough bullying here, then I must. His hand began to reach out to touch Liu Ngưng Ca's hand resting on his shoulder. This thought left him a bit stunned. What was he thinking? So, what does it have to do with me? She helps me with my leg, I help her back. No one owes anyone no problem at all. At this moment, 2 other daughters arrived, namely the 4th daughter, Liu Huac Shuang, and the 3rd daughter, Liu Nunu. She thought to herself, both the 3rd and 4th sisters were born from the same mother. Though they are not as unruly as the eldest sister, they are not easy to live with either. Before getting married, these 3 people all brought food to her. It's hard to say who harmed Liu Nunu in the end. Showing remorse, she said, I knew you would come, especially after spending half a day getting ready. I apologize for being late. Please don't blame me. But her heart was wicked, thinking, this shameless wench really caused a stir today. You can be pleased for now. Let's see how I make you go. But not come back. The entire main hall was filled with the fragrant aroma of food laid out with a variety of delicious dishes. The Prime Minister politely said, The food is simple. Please don't find it lacking, Your Highness. Come on, come on. Liu Ngưng Ca immediately started eating without any regard for her image, which left the Prime Minister and his wife astonished. Liu Nguyen. Xuan frowned and said, After all, she is a young lady of the minister's house. Why is her eating so crude? One might think she is a starving ghost reincarnated. But those words did not affect Liễu Ngưng Ca's mood while eating. She wiped her mouth and said, "Over the years in the minister's house, I've rarely seen much meat. And now seeing such fine delicacies, of course I want to eat more." Liu Nhen Xuan raised her voice and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Mother has always treated everyone fairly. How could she cut back on your food and clothing?" Quang Thuc also said nervously, "Liu Ngưng Ca, don't think that just because you are a princess, now you can throw dirt on us." Tan Vu Han, seeing this, slammed his chopsticks on the table, letting out a soft snort to express his displeasure. The Prime Minister anxiously said, "Ngưng Ca, although your biological mother is quick-witted, she has always been fair. Don't talk nonsense in front of the prince." Tan Vu Han realized that the people from the minister's house were united, and only Liễu Ngưng Ca was the outsider being excluded. She seemed to be used to these scenes. He coldly said, "Is the Prime Minister being harsh on a daughter of the family? Isn't taking out the spending records clear enough?" Everyone felt uneasy and did not dare to look directly at Tan Vu Han. If the spending records are brought out, wouldn't the issue of cutting back be proven? Liu Nengxia was also quite surprised, thinking that he would actively stir up this muddy water. One cannot deny having someone backing you really feels good. The Prime Minister then shifted to another topic. He smiled and said that Ngungsa's mother passed away early. The lady sought a good marriage for her. As a father, I can feel at ease. Liu Nyungsa heard him say that and could only continue to eat well. It truly takes face to explain clearly, stepping into the fire pit, eating well first, before having the strength to continue to resent. Liu Nunhu suddenly interjected, saying, "Two sisters, I purposely asked someone to make chicken soup. It seems someone is marrying a chicken." Two sisters, quickly taste it. Don't let down the kindness of your younger sister. The couple from the minister's house exchanged awkward glances upon hearing her say that. She then picked up the soup to taste, thinking, it's really not bad. Regarding Nin, the rooster is being nourished with a bit of ginseng and a bit of velvet antler for the prince. It will taste even better. She kindly reminded her. Third sister still likes to nourish like this. Be careful not to overdo it and get pimples. Liu Nu felt embarrassed, thinking they were touching on each other's sore spots. She quickly explained, "Recently, I just ate a bit too much spicy food. I haven't gotten pimples." Liu Nuok Shuang thought to herself, seeing Liu Nung Ka so quick-witted. How did these two sisters, who used to be timid, suddenly become so different? Unless they were pretending before. After finishing her meal, Liu Ngung Ka excitedly said, "I'm full now, right according to the rules. The prince and I will be sleeping here tonight, right?" Quang Thuc hesitantly said to Tan Vu Han, "Your Highness Ngungsa's courtyard is under renovation. I'm afraid you will have to stay in the guest room for a while tonight." She felt uneasy, thinking how could that shabby courtyard of Liu Ngungsa accommodate the prince? Tan Vu Han asked her back, "What does the princess think?" Liu Ngungsa replied, "It's ridiculous for the prince to sleep in the guest room. Wouldn't that make others laugh at him? The courtyard of the eldest sister is the best. How about you let the prince and me use it tonight?" Liu Hen Xuan, seeing her aiming for herself, angrily said, "What Liu Ngungsa, you a tool brought to the prince's residence for marriage, want to steal my courtyard dream on?" But as soon as these words were spoken, she received a slap from the chancellor. He irritably said, "You who don't know what's good for you, better shut up quickly." Saying that, the chancellor turned to Liu Ngưng Ca. "Ngưng Ca, your elder sister is not thinking straight. Father has already taught her you mustn't take it to heart." Liu Nguyen, still foolish, loudly replied, "What did I say wrong? Liu Ngưng Ca will soon become a woman abandoned by her husband. Let's see how you act then." Tan Vu Han stood up darkly, saying, "Are you all sure that the princess will become a woman abandoned by her husband like that?" The chancellor hurriedly bowed and admitted his fault to him. "Your Highness, this daughter of mine, Tam Fong, I will immediately lock her in the ancestral hall as punishment." He sympathetically said, "Dear Chancellor, it is indeed necessary to properly educate your daughter." Liu Nongsa was very surprised to see the prince stand up for her. She then heard him continue, "As long as I am alive, Ngungka will always be the Princess of Tan. If anyone in the Chancellor's residence dares to speak disrespectfully to her, don't blame me for being merciless." She was taken aback, thinking Tan Vu Han was clearly urging her to quickly treat his illness. Did he really need to express such affection? It had turned to evening and outside became quieter. Tanvu Han leaned down to ask Liễu Ngưng Ca, "Princess, how do you feel?" All the daughters of the chancellor made different expressions upon seeing this. Liễu Ngưng Ca replied, "Today is also a good day. Let's not bicker with her anymore. However, father, don't forget what you just said earlier. Take her to the temple to kneel as punishment and atone properly." The chancellor immediately agreed, saying, "Of course I will take the young lady to the temple." She was quite pleased to hear the chancellor say that and replied, "All right then, I will go into the garden with the prince to rest a bit. The rest of the matters here I will leave to you, father." The prince curiously asked, "Didn't you just say you were going to the courtyard to see the willow trees and flowers welcoming spring? Why did you suddenly come to the living room?" Liễu Ngưng Ca casually said from across, "I just mentioned a random place earlier. After all, that is the place of the young lady. I'm afraid resting there will lead to nightmares." Tanvu Han held a cup of tea, his gaze looking far away. Liễu Ngưng Ca also stared at him. He looked back at her, their gazes met. She secretly thought that a unique person like the young master actually has someone worthy of that statement. Liễu Ngưng Ca emotionally said, "Thank you for speaking up for me today in the Grand Hall." Tanvu Han replied, "Don't be so polite. As long as you heal this prince's leg soon, this will be your repayment to me." After saying that, he looked at her and smiled gently. That expression made Liễu Ngưng Ca feel very moved. She turned her face away, secretly thinking, "What kind of expression is this? If it weren't for me, you would have met Yan Wang long ago." In such an awkward situation, she decided to leave. "I'm going to the temple for a bit. Being here with you now doesn't do anything. I should go to the temple because I still have many questions to ask my elder sister." The bright moonlight outside illuminated her path. Liễu Ngưng Ca had moved to the ancestral hall where strange, sizzling sounds echoed inside. Liu Yuanshan heard the sounds and mistakenly thought it was someone she happily turned back and called "Mother," but realized the person was Liễu Ngưng Ca. She angrily said, "Why are you here? What are you doing here?" Liễu Ngưng Ca calmly walked in and said, "Of course I came to see the show." Liu Yuanshan looked up, seeing the defiant attitude, responded, "Don't think being the prince consort makes you important. I am the true noble daughter of the general's mansion." Liu Ngưng Ca pretended to be surprised and said, "The true daughter? Everyone will eventually have to kneel and pay respects to me, right? I'm not here to chat with you. On the day of the wedding, you were the one who poisoned me, right? Poisoned the prince consort. Have you thought about how you would die?" Liu Yuanshan absolutely refused to admit it, saying, "Poison. Don't slander me. Do you have any evidence that I did that? If you're capable, go investigate. Just be careful not to implicate others on your mother's side. If something happens, I don't believe you're only concerned about yourself." Liu Ngưng Ca caught the key point. She suspiciously thought, "Implicate, huh? Implicate what? Could it be that she wasn't the only one involved and there were others as well? Indeed, if this matter spreads outside the general's mansion, it will be a laughingstock for everyone. In this era, coming from such a family background, it would probably shame the whole clan. Right now, my strength is not enough. I cannot throw myself into the fire." She triumphantly said, "Admit it, you will never defeat me in this lifetime." Liu Ngưng Ca turned sharply and said, "What are you in such a hurry for? The day of victory is still far away." She heard her say this and angrily retorted, "Who is afraid of whom?" An hour later, Qinvu Han's helpless voice rang out. "The evening silver needle tests for poison. The Kuang family isn't foolish enough to use poison in the food, right?" Liu Ngưng Ca carefully replied while testing for poison with the silver needle. "It's better to be cautious." Seeing her frowning while poking each piece of dim sum on the table, Qinvu Han asked with concern, "It seems like you have something on your mind. Did something happen?" Liu Ngưng Ca's hands paused. She avoided his gaze and said, "I'll go try a few more dishes over there. Your Highness, eat these 2 plates first." Qinvu Han replied, "This prince is not hungry." But Liu Ngưng Ca, full of concern, said, "Even if you're not hungry, you still have to eat. Don't you want your body to recover quickly?" He obediently brought a piece of dim sum to his mouth and tried to eat again. Suddenly, Liu Ngưng Ca seriously sat down beside him, startling him as he said, "What are you doing?" She replied, The blood in your highness's leg has clotted. Take off your shoes so I can massage it for you. Once she had taken off his shoes, her delicate hands gently massaged Qin Vu Han's thigh. Qin Vu Han glanced at her, secretly thinking, why is she so diligent today? And Liễu Ngưng Ca thought, today he helped me say a few words. This is also a form of repayment. Seeing her expression, Qin Vu Han's face turned red. He thought, why is she so adorable? What silly thoughts am I having? Liễu Ngưng Ca continued her actions. She asked with concern, how about this pressure? Qin Vu Han gently replied, yeah, comfortable. The servants of the chancellor were secretly watching them from outside. He silently assessed whether Ngưng Ca was sensitive enough to notice. There were people outside the door. She silently guessed whether it was Liu Qiannam or Quang Thuc. Liễu Ngưng Ca began to perform, looking at him with tender eyes, and said, Your Highness, I gently caress his legs. Then say my massage method is the most effective for your ailing legs. Do you feel satisfied? Qin Vu Han, seeing her attitude, leaned to one side in doubt and said, He secretly thought, what trick is this person playing? Finally, he noticed a shadow outside the door. Qin Vu Han sighed reluctantly, compromised thinking about what she was up to. Seeing the prince's reluctant attitude, Liễu Ngưng Ca happily thought that he silently agreed. She pretended to be weak and said, When I was in the prince's residence, you were infatuated with me, eager and lustful. Why are you so indifferent today? This statement startled him. What was this woman talking about? Lust. Lust, lust. She looked at him with hopeful eyes and continued, Your Highness Grandma Tria always urges me to have children, just to let you know we should go to bed early. Qin Vu Han was completely taken aback. Child. He had already imagined what it would be like to hold a child. Liễu Ngưng Ca was not at all embarrassed to say words that made the person outside the door feel ashamed to leave. That's right, Your Highness. There isn't a night when you don't torment me to give birth. It's just a matter of time. Liễu Ngưng Ca heard the noise he had left. She proudly said, Competing with me, I'm scared for sure. Tan Vu Han coughed and asked, Who does she think sent them? Liễu Ngưng Ca casually replied, I don't know. There are so many people in the general's residence hoping I die soon. Anyone could be capable. She opened the cupboard to take a blanket while thinking, It's so late they only want to eavesdrop to see if my feelings with the Prince of Tan are real or not. At the same time, Liễu Ngưng Ca told the prince, Anyway, I can manage it for now. She handed 2 soft cotton blankets to Tan Vu. Han took them and scratched herself, then climbed onto the bed. She called out to the prince to adjust the pillow himself, as she was a bit sleepy and going to sleep first. Liễu Ngưng Ca settled comfortably on the bed, wishing the prince good night. Outside, the moon had risen. Cao Thuong, too, secretly said, It seems I have underestimated this daughter. She can actually make the Prince of Tan infatuated. For me, this is good news. Controlling her, maybe I can grasp the Prince of Tan's weakness. At that time, whatever I want, the Prince of Tan will have to compromise, right? The servants also reported there was one more thing. The madam had come several times to ask the Lord to forgive the eldest young lady. The Prime Minister angrily said, Foolish. Almost pushed the Xiang residence into a dead end and still has the face to ask for forgiveness. If the madam is so worried about the eldest young lady, then let's go to the ancestral hall. Bak Lianhua's weak demeanor looked at him. The prince thought that if he didn't know anything, he would really be deceived. Tan Vu Han also felt very uncomfortable in his heart. In front of me, you dared to bully the princess. He coldly said, No need to stop, Ka. Before she could finish her sentence, his hand was caught by her. Tan Han Vu glanced at her, not understanding what was happening. Liễu Ngưng Ca thought that if such a small matter could be deceived by others, then she was too useless. She pretended to be indifferent and said, If you want to go, then go. Why do I have to follow? Don't you know the way? This attitude made Liu Nuoc Duong very angry. She pretended to be pitiful, crying and saying, Sister, no matter how good the Prince of Tan's residence is, the Prime Minister's residence is still your home. Today you abandon your mother and father, tomorrow you meet someone richer. Can it be that even the prince sees it? She said that on purpose. Tan Han Vu secretly laughed in his heart. The prince was saying this for his own sake, but the methods were too clumsy. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately received a slap from Liễu Ngưng Ca. She gently rubbed her hand while the prince was also startled. Liu Nuoc Shuang indignantly said, You dared to hit me. She put on an innocent expression like Bak Lianhua and said, "Fourth sister, your words are too outrageous. Your Highness, below one person, above 10,000 people, the wealth surpassing him is only the Emperor. Do you dare to discuss matters under the feet of the Emperor?" She looked at her reddened hands, heartbroken, thinking, "This guy hit me so hard my hands hurt." Liễu Ngưng Ca continued with the tactic of turning the tables. "Could it be that my fourth sister thinks that one day the prince will fall? Oh my, if others hear this, our household won't be able to keep our heads." Tan Vu Han sighed as he listened to her, thinking that turning guests into hosts was quite clever and daring to use the royal family's name. Liu Nuok Shuang hurriedly rushed to him, panicking. "Shongni didn't mean that." Prince, when her hand just touched Tan Vu Han, he coldly said, "Stop the upbringing from the general's mansion is quite good." He was filled with restraint at this touch. Liu Nuok Shuang exclaimed in panic, "Your Highness, I didn't—" Before she could finish, Liễu Ngưng Ca had already pushed the prince away. She didn't forget to turn back and make a funny face to provoke her into a fit of rage. Seeing the furious expression of the fourth sister, Liễu Ngưng Ca whispered in his ear, "Your Highness, you're doing great." Tan Vu Han shyly said, "You should be less sentimental." Liu Nuok Shuang behind them stomped her feet in anger, thinking that Liễu Ngưng Ca made the general's mansion seem so peaceful despite just having a small conflict occur. Liễu Ngưng Ca said to him, "We can talk, but if I know she fainted, I should still visit." "Your Highness, you rest first, I'll go for a bit and come back." Tan Vu Han asked her with concern, "Can you handle it alone?" She turned back to him. "When the prince hadn't appeared any day, I was like this, not to mention now that I am the princess." Hearing these words, Tan Vu Han's heart suddenly tightened. He gently said, Go ahead. I will be here for everything. Just show off as you wish." Liễu Ngưng Ca suddenly peeked out from behind the door, cheerfully asking, "So you are concerned about me, right?" Tan Vu Han bit his tongue, flustered, saying, "This prince is concerned about his own leg." She waved goodbye to him and said, "All right, I'm off." Liễu Ngưng Ca skipped out, thinking that this man was really dull, and she already had a bowl of medicine in her hand. She entered Quang Thuc's room, her voice full of concern. "Mother, I came to visit you." She silently thought 1,000 times not to let me provoke you to death. The chancellor was delighted to see her and said, "Ngưng Ca has arrived. Hurry and sit down." Liễu Ngưng Ca smiled and asked back, "Thank you, father. How is mother's health?" He replied, "The fever has gone down. The doctor just said resting for 2 days will be fine." She expressed relief upon hearing that, saying, "That's good." The daughter specifically asked someone to cook a bowl of medicinal soup that will help replenish energy for a long time. Quang Thuc, seeing her say that, angrily scolded, "Liễu Ngưng Ca, don't think I don't know you're a weasel wishing the chicken a happy new year. There's no good intention behind it. Take your medicine and get out." The bowl of medicine she brought was thrown away by her. The medicine splashed onto the chancellor's face. He exclaimed, "Oh, my Liễu Ngưng Ca, hurry and wipe it for him." Concerned, she asked, "Father, are you okay?" The chancellor, dealing with her sudden concern, only responded, I'm fine, I'm fine." Then he turned back to reprimand Quang Thuc. "Ngưng Ca has good intentions. Look at you. Where's the appearance of a royal mother? Still in the manor, you need to be careful." "All right. There's something to resolve in the study. I'll go ahead." Seeing the chancellor leave, Quang Thuc hurriedly stopped him. "Tell the master you stand still. I'm not—" cough, cough, cough. Liu Nguyen angrily said, "That vile woman, it's all your fault. Why haven't you died to get out of my sight yet?" After that remark outside the general's mansion, thunder and lightning roared. Liu Ngưng Ca coldly asked, "How do you know I haven't died?" She whispered into his ear, Poison on my wedding day. You all personally took action, have you forgotten?" Her expression changed, becoming particularly ruthless. "I especially crawled up from the ground to find you and seek revenge." Liu Nguyen asked in fear, "How do you know?" She fell back panicking and said, "You are not Liu Ngưng Ca. Liu Ngưng Ca is dead. Who are you?" Seeing Liu Ngungsa's face become wicked and angry, she screamed in fear, "It's a ghost! You are a ghost!" Liu Nguyen was so scared she ran away continuously shouting, "Help! The ghost is here!" Seeing her panicked demeanor, Liu Ngungsa thought, "Thanks to this potion, I added a bit of a matkook into it to make people fall into a special illusion. After processing encountering air will enhance it suitable for dealing with this wicked mother and child." The panicked figure of Liu Nguyen had run far away, she thought. "Don't worry, I won't spare anyone." Liu Nguyen, her mind hazy, fell into the water in the manor. The maid panicked and shouted, "Ah!" The young lady fell into the lake. Liu Ngungsa, seeing that disheveled figure, happily said, "Well done." Tan Vu Han, seeing her concocting medicine, curiously asked, "You've been fiddling for the whole afternoon. What exactly are you making?" She calmly said, "It's poison, but it won't take anyone's life." "I'm not as cruel as Liu Nguyen." Tan Vu Han frowned and asked, "Did Liu Nguyen poison you?" In his heart, he just wanted to beat his subordinates up. Jae-ing actually hasn't heard this news. Liu Ngungsa accused, "That's right, it was on the wedding day. Almost couldn't enter your house." Tan Vu Han also understood if Ngungsa couldn't enter the Tanwang mansion, then I would probably die that day. Just pondering for a moment, he saw Liu Ngungka anxiously say, "Right, I'm going to deal with Liu Nguyen." But her hand had been tightly grasped by him. "Wait a minute." Tan Vu Han looked at her with concern and asked, "Do you want to do it yourself?" Liu Ngungsa asked him, "You won't stop me, right?" As if realizing something, she blankly said, "Huh." Her eyes sparkling as she looked at him and asked, "Are you concerned about me?" Tan Vu Han refused to admit it and said, "I'm just afraid you'll mess up and affect the reputation of the Tanwang mansion. Moreover, your matters are my matters. You can ask me for help." Liu Ngungsa felt shy from his concern, stammering, Tan Vu Han reminded her, "Report to my hidden guards. Jae-ying is hiding in the tree." Suddenly, he sneezed confusedly, saying, "What is it?" "Grandma." The next morning, suddenly a loud scream echoed in the general's mansion. That scream ruined Liu Ngungka's sleep. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "What's happening outside? It's so noisy." The servant respectfully reported, "Your Highness, something happened to the eldest daughter. The madam is making a fuss to see you." Liu Ngungsa calmly said, "Oh, is it that serious?" Then she went to the courtyard of the eldest sister. As soon as she reached the door, she heard Kwang Thuk accusing the chancellor, "Sir, but this is our only daughter. You must take charge for me." She walked in her face full of worry, saying, "I've heard that the eldest sister is unwell. What happened?" Kwang Thuk, seeing her arrive, angrily said, "You're the one who harmed my Nghen Xuan." And her beloved daughter kept complaining, oh. Liu Ngungsa pretended to be innocent and said, "Oh dear, what happened to the eldest sister's throat?" "Mother, don't wrongfully accuse me. Do you have any evidence?" The chancellor was deep in thought, silently listening to Kwang Thuk questioning her. "Evidence, you say?" "Bring the maid down to question her thoroughly and everything will become clear." Liu Ngungcha then asked, "Do you want to fight me or something?" Just then, the voice of Tan Vu Han rang out powerfully. "I want to see who dares." The chancellor, seeing him arrive, broke out in a cold sweat and politely said, "Why are you disturbing Prince Tan to come here?" He thought to himself, the foot hasn't even stepped in yet. "So fast?" The prince coldly said, "If this prince doesn't come, I fear that the princess won't be able to return to the prince's mansion." The chancellor waved his hand repeatedly, denying replying, "How could that be? That woman is out of line." He spoke humbly about his wife, but Tan Vu Han was not willing to let it go like that. He coldly asked, "Then why did Lady Tan use abusive tactics to wrongfully accuse the princess? And in the eyes of the chancellor, it's just nonsense." The chancellor continued to make excuses, responding, "My wife and I have only one daughter, and now suddenly hearing bad news, we are too heartbroken." But Tan Vu Han, speaking in the name of the royal family, said, Your household is used to beating people when you are heartbroken. The royal family, I must report back to the emperor." Liễu Ngưng Ca admired the prince's firm attitude and thought, "Why is he being so tough today? I like it." The chancellor could no longer refute, only able to say, "Oh, your highness, spare us. My wife has offended the royal family. Please punish her." In his heart, he secretly blamed Quang Thuc, that foolish woman. Tan Vu Han turned to Liễu Ngưng Ca and asked, "Princess, what do you think we should do?" She pretended to be worried and said, "Prince Liễu Ngưng Ca is acting to the point of becoming addicted." She knelt down, causing the portrait to also kneel with her. Looking up with eyes sparkling with tears, she said to the prince, "How can I blame my mother for doing something against our ancestors? I'm afraid that the ancestors will punish us. It's better to kneel in the ancestral hall for a few days, taking a small punishment as a big lesson." These words, along with her amazing performance, made him struggle to hold back laughter. The chancellor hurriedly bowed respectfully and said, Princess, I humbly pay my respects." But Quang Thuc could not accept it. She quickly pleaded with her husband, "No, my lord, how can I show my face again?" But the chancellor coldly shouted, "Go right now," while secretly cursing her, making this cripple hold the weakness of this foolish dog woman. Liu Hen Xuan supported her mother, her throat unable to make a sound, staring wide-eyed at Liễu Ngưng Ca. Today is also the day they returned to the mansion. Liễu Ngưng Ca sat in the carriage and asked him, "Prince, clearly you know I poisoned, yet you still help me. Does this mean we are accomplices?" She gently wiped her tears and said, "Does the prince not blame me for being cruel? Why not probe a little?" she thought. Liễu Ngưng Ca leaned closer to him and asked, "Does the prince want to protect me?" She didn't understand how he could help her poison. Her lips softly whispered into Tan Vu Han's ear, "I'm very scared." This intimacy made Tan Vu Han blush, thinking, "This woman." He had just said, "You don't," when her finger stopped him. She ambiguously said, "Prince, help me with this matter. I have nothing to repay you." Reluctantly, her lips drew close, making Tan Vu Han quite flustered. He blocked Liễu Ngưng Ca, frowning and saying, "You don't need to test my feelings. Your fate is in my hands, and I don't even clearly understand it myself. Why should I worry about this?" Shh. These words surprised her. She hurriedly pretended to be clueless and replied, "What are you talking about? I don't understand anything." After saying this, she glanced secretly at Tan Vu Han, and he became embarrassed under her gaze. Liễu Ngưng Ca secretly covered her mouth and laughed. A prince who is so pure and innocent is really something. At this moment in the chancellor's mansion, Liu Nu brought a bowl of soup into the study, obediently saying to the chancellor, "Father, I made a bowl of soup for you." He picked up the bowl and asked, "Why did you come to the study at this time?" She pretended to be worried and said, "Actually, yesterday I went to pay respects and met a fortune teller. He said that my daughter might encounter bad luck." The chancellor suspiciously asked what bad luck, and she replied yes. The fortune teller said that there have been consecutive incidents in the mansion recently, all because someone brought bad luck into the mansion. But the only people who have come to the chancellor's mansion recently are the two sisters and Prince Tan, who is of royal blood, perhaps not someone with bad luck. My daughter also does not want to suspect the two sisters, but is afraid that they will affect my father's prospects as an official. He thought to himself that it was not wrong. Although he did not fully believe this, he could not let his official position encounter any uncertainties. The chancellor decided that it was better for everyone in the mansion to have less contact with Ngưng Ca. Liu Nu agreed, saying she would remember, but her heart was wicked, thinking that just avoiding contact was not enough. Liu Ngưng Ca, I will make sure everyone in the streets keeps spreading this news. They curiously asked each other, "So is the Princess Tan really a comet? What you still don't know?" Our capital has a very powerful sorcerer who says that the Prince of Qin's consort brings bad omens to the majestic palace. Liu Ngưng Ca brought a bowl of medicine to the prince and gently said, "Here, drink this bowl of medicine. I specially went out to buy this decoction for you." He asked with concern, "Did you go out? Nothing happened, right?" She smiled brightly and replied, "What could happen right in front of the palace? Look, I even brought you the plum blossom cake from Dian Hilao." Tan Vu Han looked at the plate of pastries with apprehension, thinking it was sweet. She brought a piece of cake to his mouth and said, "Try it, then it won't taste bitter anymore." Liu Ngưng Ca smiled and asked, "Is it good?" Tan Vu Han only said, "If you like it, you can call the chef over to make it for you. No need to go out yourself like this in case of danger." Just then, Chiek-an rushed in to report to the prince that someone from the palace was waiting in the hall inviting him to come and take a look. Tanvu-han was also surprised and said, "My father is calling for me. I wonder what it is about." But Chiek-an just shook his head as he was unclear about what was going on. Chiek-an whispered a few words to the prince that the person coming was a junior disciple of the eunuch beside the emperor. That person said not to disturb the princess. After hearing this, Tanvu-han frowned. He felt that something was about to go wrong. Today's weather is very cold with each branch bare in the chill. Tanvu-han moved to the hall of the palace, sitting in the main seat with great authority. The eunuch respectfully saluted and said, "I greet the prince." Tanvu-han directly asked without ceremony, "Why did my father call for me?" But the eunuch only said, "I don't know, prince. You will find out when you enter the palace to see the emperor." Seeing that he could not extract any information from this person, he had to say, "Understood, I will follow you into the palace after I change clothes." Chiek-an was dressing the prince and asked, "How is the investigation regarding the princess?" Chiek-an's hands suddenly paused and he reported, "The father is fine." Tanvu-han coldly replied, "Speak, Chiek-an, tell the story slowly." Kuang family was jealous and secretly switched the medicine of the princess's biological mother, resulting in her death not long after. Tanvu-han saw him hesitating and ordered, "Continue." The princess was still young and had lost the protection of her biological mother early on. That Miss Lu spent all day taking pleasure in bullying and insulting the princess. The 7-year-old princess was even pushed into a dangerous lotus pond, nearly losing her life. The princess with a strong fate survived but kept having a high fever and only continued to live by eating stale porridge. Tanvu-han fell into deep thought upon hearing her tragic circumstances. Chiek-an indignantly spoke on behalf of Lo Ngưng Sa. Prince Liu Qian-nam is truly worthless. The princess is after all his bloodline. But Tanvu-han raised his hand to signal him to be silent. He coldly said, "You've been speaking too much lately." The portrait replied, "Your Highness, please forgive me, but even if the princess and the general's mansion are not harmonious, it does not prove that she is not anyone's spy." Tanvu-han did not rush to confirm anything. Whether she is a spy or not needs to be investigated first. Then he thought about her appearance. Clearly she looked careless and gluttonous, always just seen eating. This made him think of a pig. He cleared his throat a few times and then spoke to the portrait with a measure of self-restraint. When he reached the emperor's chamber, the palace servants reported, "Your Majesty, Prince Tan has arrived." Tanvu-han patiently waited outside while the emperor was approving memorials, instructing the eunuch beside him, "Let him in." Upon seeing Tanvu-han, the emperor coldly said, "You're here." He showed a worried expression and asked, "I wonder what father has summoned me for." The emperor handed the memorial to the eunuch and asked, "It concerns the words of the sorcerer that have been spreading outside. You have heard about it, right?" The eunuch handed the memorial to him, and the emperor said, "Open it and take a look." Inside was the emperor's decree. Princess Lu of the Tan family carries evil energy, conflicts with the dragon's energy, weakens the fortunes of the emperor, has a headstrong and jealous temperament, speaks wrongly, and is resolutely permitted to allow Prince Tan to divorce her. Afterward, the marriage of the two will not be disputed. This decree had been approved. Tanvu-han raised his head and asked, "Father, what does this mean?" The emperor said darkly, "If it's not good, then divorce her." Seeing Tanvu-han not responding, the emperor furrowed his brows and asked again, "Why aren't you speaking?" He replied, "Father, the princess has just married into the prince's mansion and is already being divorced. I fear she will be a laughingstock for the rest of her life." The emperor, feeling awkward, said, "I know you are kind-hearted, but I fear the tongues of the world. She is just a secondary daughter. If there is no joyful occasion, how can she be worthy of entering the grand gates of the royal family?" As soon as he finished speaking, Tanvu-han closed the memorial. He firmly stated, "Father, whether she is a primary or secondary daughter, Ngưng Ca is still the princess that I brought into the mansion with a grand palanquin. I absolutely will not divorce her." Outside, the birds chirped cheerfully, expressing his intentions to the emperor, and Tanvu-han returned to the prince's mansion. As soon as he entered the mansion, he heard Chiha reporting to his princess, "Princess, yesterday Hong Oan spoke ill of you again." Liễu Ngưng Ca casually replied, No need to rush. One day I will chase her out. Just as she was speaking, Tanvu Han gently tapped his hand on the wheelchair, signaling them. He asked what they were talking about. Chiha panicked and bowed the maid, greeting the prince. Liễu Ngưng Ca curiously asked why the prince had come here. This question left him unsure of how to respond. The prince himself thought he didn't know why he came here as soon as he returned to the mansion. Finally, Tanvu Han made up an excuse, saying his foot felt a bit uncomfortable, seeking her examination. Liễu Ngưng Ca, seeing this, stood up and walked towards him, her face full of concern, asking if his foot still hurt. Tanvu Han also felt embarrassed about this flimsy excuse. How could the prince say such a clumsy lie? Liễu Ngưng Ca bent down to touch his foot, asking with concern how he felt uncomfortable. Please explain a little more. When you're in the thick of it, you have to go along with it. He reluctantly said he felt a little pain and numbness like being pricked by needles. Liễu Ngưng Ca guessed that the autumn rain followed by a cold change might be caused by humidity. She turned back to order her maid Chiha to go get a blanket. Chiha replied yes. The blanket was tossed up by her and she draped it over his legs. Liễu Ngưng Ca explained that being warmer would make his legs feel a little better. She ordered Chiha again go boil some water for a bath. Oh right, add the herbs that the prince usually uses too. Tanvu Han saw this and silently thought her busy appearance for him was really lovely. After assigning the tasks, Liễu Ngưng Ca turned back to look at him, suddenly breaking into a very enigmatic smile. She held up a hot sweet potato, smiling with a meaningful expression. Tanvu Han secretly sighed and suddenly felt a bit uneasy. The next action of Liễu Ngưng Ca made him stare at her. She stuffed the sweet potato against his leg and added, "This will keep you warm." The sweet potato was so hot that the prince had to shout. Back in the room, Tanvu Han was dazed, holding the sweet potato in his hand while Liễu Ngưng Ca kept stirring the potion bottle in his hand, shyly saying she thought she was going to burn him to death. Liễu Ngưng Ca was applying medicine to him while saying sorry she wouldn't do that again next time. Liễu Ngưng Ca curiously asked, "Oh, but why did you suddenly leave today? What happened?" She thought to herself, "Look at the intelligence of modern people. I have the perfect skill to change the subject." The piece of sweet potato that Tanvu Han was about to enjoy, but because of her question, he hesitated. He looked at her and said with difficulty, "Father, he..." Liễu Ngưng Ca saw him hesitate like that and thought, "What's wrong? Why aren't you saying anything?"